Harry and Meghan's statement about their near catastrophic car chase with paparazzi through the streets of Manhattan was disturbing. Their account of a relentless pursuit at the hands of aggressive hordes of photographers was intentionally and unmistakably evocative of a tragedy that killed Princess Diana, Harry's mother. And so news networks across the world switched to rolling coverage. Debates about the merits of Meghan Markle being given an award as a feminist icon, well, they were put to one side, which is probably where they belonged. But instead, we moved to a story that seemed on the face of it incredibly dramatic. We were told that friends of the couple were quietly briefing that Harry had never felt closer to understanding what his mother had gone through when she died. There were damning details about vehicles running red lights, mounting pavements. A security source said it could have been fatal. It was their security source. But then facts began to emerge, those irritating things, and some questions began to be asked about what had really gone on. The chilling tale of a dice with death now looks a little, well, less deadly. First, as New York Mayor Eric Adams quickly pointed out, a 2-hour chase in congested Manhattan is hard to imagine.
I would find it hard to believe that there was a 2-hour high-speed chase. That would be, I find it hard to believe, but we will find out the exact duration of it. But if it's 10 minutes, a 10-minute chase is extremely dangerous in New York City.
Well, he's right, it is. In a 10-minute chase involving near collisions with cars, pedestrians, 2 police officers, as a couple described in that breathless, terrifying detail, well, that would be unacceptable. But did it actually happen in the way they said it did? What we know is that Harry, Meghan and her mother Doria left the Ziegfeld Theatre shortly before 10 p.m. in a security vehicle with a police escort heading to a friend's house on the Upper East Side. Now, just to put that into geographical perspective, that after 10 o'clock at night in Manhattan, I know because I've lived in New York for a few years, is about a 10-minute journey maximum. But they drove around for another hour, apparently suspicious they were being followed by photographers. Well, I don't know why, because they literally just left a huge media event in which the media were all invited. So, of course, there are going to be photographers crawling all over the place. But apparently they didn't want their friend's house to be identified. Well, OK, so you're going to a huge event that's covered by hordes of the media, including loads of paparazzi. Why stay at a friend's house if you want to protect them from having photographers turn up? Why not take a secure vehicle directly to a nearby secure hotel, like the thousands of celebrities do in New York City every year? And in fact, as Harry and Meghan have done in the past, staying at some of the best hotels in America. But they didn't. About 11 p.m, one of the couple's security staff hailed a taxi, a yellow taxi, outside a police precinct on the Upper East Side. The taxi driver, Sunny Singh, has given various accounts of what happened. He spoke to me first last night and seemed quite relaxed about the ordeal.
That must have happened before me.
So there was no like car chase when you were there?
Not when they got into my cab. We just went around the block and the 2 cars were tailing us behind us with a camera, and that was it.
Why, if you're worried about your security, would you get jumped into a yellow cab in New York? You ever driven in one of those things? They're often lunatics at the wheel of those yellow cabs. And that was deemed to be safety and security? Mr. Singh says the taxi got stuck behind a garbage truck for 5 minutes, during which time it didn't move very far. Paparazzi took pictures. They're allowed to. It's their job. And, of course, they're feeding off a couple who have spent the last few years deliberately making hundreds of millions of dollars from the media, from Netflix TV series, from massive best-selling books, from podcasts, from endless interviews, all of them trashing their families. That's their choice. They're allowed to do that. But then the paparazzi are also allowed to make their corn, aren't they? Very quickly afterwards, they began moving off again. Photographers in tow, until a security guard told him to take the yellow cab back to where they'd picked it up. So the cab ride lasted 10 minutes and seems completely pointless. According to law enforcement officials who've spoken to the New York Times, among others, Harry and Meghan stayed at a police precinct just outside it, in fact, until officers blocked traffic in the area. After that, they left with a police escort and no paparazzi, and eventually they got to their friend's house. It all sounds, all right, a bit inconvenient. I've been followed by the paparazzi. I quite like it, actually, if I'm honest. It's when they don't turn up that you have to start worrying about what's happened to you. But was this a near-fatal, near-catastrophic incident? No, it wasn't. Celebrity news agency Backgrid said four photographers sent them pictures. They said some of them show Meghan smiling. They do. I've seen them. And this is an hour into the ordeal. What's she smiling about? Is it the smile of trauma? There were no near collisions or near crashes during this incident, said the spokesman for this agency. The photographers have reported feeling the couple was not in immediate danger at any point. And there's no evidence to suggest they were. And you would think, given there are cameras all over the place in Manhattan, and there were lots of photographers there, that at some stage we would be shown the horrific scenes of the near catastrophe. And look at the reporting from Good Morning America, one of America's top morning shows. Along the way, they reported, police sources said photographers on bicycles are visible on security cameras, but not the kind of caravan described by sources close to Harry and Meghan. The police interaction with the couple lasted no more than 20 minutes, according to police sources. If the episode lasted for 2 hours, as Meghan and Harry say it is, because their security felt the need to take a circuitous route back to where they were staying. But why would they do that? Why wouldn't they just get in their car and go from the theatre on 57th Street to wherever it was, halfway up the Upper East to their friend's house? A cynic, and I'm certainly not cynical, but a cynic might suggest they were deliberately trying to look like victims of the media. And they were doing that after voluntarily flying to New York to attend a pretty spurious award ceremony in which they wanted to be the centre of attention. Meghan was getting an award for kindness and for equality, which are the two words you would most associate with her, I think. We can all agree on that. And against the backdrop of a court case over Harry's security in the UK, where he's trying to get royal protection back, well, what better way to nudge that debate along than this? But they made a lot of bad decisions with their security team on this night in New York, which created the very circus they keep insisting they want to prevent. My advice to them is, if you really don't want to be the centre of a media circus, stop behaving like media clowns. Well, joining me now is the former royal bodyguard to Queen Elizabeth II, Simon Morgan, Princess Diana's former butler, Paul Burrell, a Fox News contributor, and New York Post columnist Miranda Devine. Well, welcome to all of you. Miranda, let me start with you across the pond there. You and I know Manhattan very well. We've got a lot of yellow cabs in our time. Does any of this version of events from the Sussexes ring true to you?
No. And they've just chosen the wrong place to try and pull this stunt, because there are so many cameras in New York, there are so many celebrities much more important than they are. The carry-on just fell flat. Everybody knew that it was bogus, and it's obvious why they did it. They created the drama. They drove around Manhattan for an hour and a half to create some sort of event that Harry was filming on his phone, presumably for the next Netflix installment. And now they're on the front page. No one even cared about Meghan Markle getting some award. It would have been sort of the bottom of page 6. Now they're on the front page, which is what they wanted. And all I can say is life in Montecito must be incredibly boring.